The Dutch Underworld. Mexico, Honduras, Bolivia. These are all countries where criminal organizations have dug their nails into the political sphere through the power of the illegal drug trade. But what if there was a country in Europe that was fascinating and also was facing the same threat? This is how the innocuous deal between the two countries led to the birth of one of the largest criminal firms in the entire world. This is how the Mocro Mafia has become the Netherlands' greatest security threat. What if a massive underground gang controlled the most significant drug flow into Europe through bribes, torture, and public killings? The origin of the Mocro Mafia. The origin of the Mocro Mafia. The origin of the Mocro Mafia. Understanding why the mafia problem is so pervasive in the Netherlands means understanding the history of the relationship between the two countries. In the 1960s, economic liberation meant the countries of Western Europe were seeing significant changes in the post-war period. Germany had destroyed much of the Netherlands during World War II, and rebuilding was still ongoing more than 2 decades later. On May 14, 1969, Morocco and the Netherlands signed a bilateral agreement to allow Moroccan laborers to migrate to the Netherlands as guest workers. The idea was a sound one. This new cheap labor would help balance out the high demand for construction in the Netherlands, while the Moroccan immigrants would be receiving a good pay and a new home. In 1964, Belgium signed a similar agreement with Morocco. The Netherlands witnessed the rapid development of a Moroccan diaspora during this period of mass migration. Despite the fact that they were second-generation immigrants who spoke both Dutch and Moroccan, an entire community of people with North African ties arose to the Netherlands. The presence of this community in particular is critical to the growth of the drug trade in places like Rotterdam. The Dutch were interested in cannabis for recreational purposes while rebuilding their country. By the 1970s, the Netherlands had legalized and consumed cannabis, indicating that the drug was in high demand in the country. Morocco, fortunately for the Dutch, has a long history of hashish cultivation. In fact, the Rif region is the world's largest hashish cultivation area. When the demand for cannabis increased, the guest workers contacted their families back home, who had been growing the plant for years, to take advantage of the situation. These imports increased until a drug underbelly formed in high-traffic ports like Rotterdam or Amsterdam. The trade expanded beyond cannabis to include the highly profitable cocaine trade. And by 2023, the streets of the Netherlands' largest cities were under the control of the Marco family, an infamous group of drug dealers of Moroccan descent. Their activities are not limited to drug trafficking and money laundering, which fall under the purview of the Mocro Mafia. They were able to seize control of large portions of Europe's drug trade by collaborating with major international players such as the Italian Mafia or Russian gangs, gaining access to critical resources such as weapons, contacts within political circles, and money laundering networks. By collaborating with major international players such as the Italian Mafia or Russian gangs, they were able to gain access to vital resources such as weapons, contacts within political circles, and money laundering networks, allowing them to seize control of a large portion of Europe's drug trade. This strategic alliance allowed them to quickly become one of the world's most powerful criminal organizations. The Mafia is regarded as one of Europe's most successful criminal organizations due to its ability to quickly adapt to changing circumstances while maintaining its core values of loyalty and cooperation among its members. From humble beginnings among Dutch immigrant communities in 2002 to 2003, it has grown into one of Europe's most largest drug traffickers, with connections extending far beyond Dutch borders into the other European countries. Despite external pressure from far beyond Dutch borders into the other European countries, and from the authorities attempting to bring it down, the future of this powerful crime syndicate appears bright. Understanding the Mafia's origins is one thing, understanding how they operate is another. How does such a diverse group of people work so well together? The answer may reveal more about the Netherlands than one would expect. How they operate. And like it or not, there are usually a few countries that pop into one's mind before the Netherlands when thinking of the violence on the Human Development Index. According to the UN's ranking of the living conditions within the country, the Netherlands even ranks 10th in the world, yet some of the crime-related behavior in the country's shocking violence plays a huge part in the Mafia's image. The group's grip on the drug trade has led to an increase in violent crime in cities throughout the Netherlands. Truffle wars between rival gangs and targeted assassinations are just some of the acts that have become commonplace due to their involvement in the illegal drug market, but the violence goes beyond gang disruptions and disputes, and those some report detailed borderline psychopathic tendencies in 2016. The discovery of soundproof torture chamber believed to have been used by the narcotics gang shocked the nation and served as a reminder of what those involved in the trafficking trade were capable of. The details were made public at the latest hearing in the case of 11 suspects, including an alleged ringleader known as Roger Piet Costa-P, who were accused of planning to murder rivals at an apparent torture site discovered 7 shipping containers in the warehouse in the Brabant, 6 of which were allegedly used as killers, containing handcuffs and leg cuffs. In the 7th container was a refashioned dentist chair with straps for tying arms and legs. Soundproofing had been installed in the container. Officers were also discovered in freezers large enough to hold more than one person, as well as a mortar tub allegedly intended for waterboarding victims. According to the court, a second location in Rotterdam served as the operating base for an arrest team that was tasked with picking up their intended targets and transporting them to Roos Plantation. There have also been allegations that mafia members have infiltrated local politics to further their own agendas. Bribes, threats, and other forms of Korkriakan have been used to influence decision makers at all levels of government. This has resulted in a lack of regulations and lenient punishment for those involved in drug-related or other illegal enterprises. Garrett G., who worked with gangs to allow the flow of drugs through Rotterdam. In one instance, over 300 kilograms of cocaine was transported in shipping containers thanks to Garrett G's help. G's ancestors paid Garrett 7.5% of the value of all the illegal narcotics. He allowed himself to pass through the harbor unchecked. He worked in the pre-arrival department where containers are selected for shipment. By taking his clients' deliveries out of the system, he guaranteed the consignment's safe passage into Europe. It's not entirely down to greed-filled corruption, but the lives of those who publicly stand against the Mocro Mafia at risk. The Marengo case is a trial of the 17 high-profile Dutch and Moroccan criminals, with cocaine kingpin Ridwan Taghi at its center. During the trial, Peter de Vries, an investigative journalist and crime reporter, was assisting the Crown witness. I spoke about the case on the RTL show in Amsterdam. A gunman approached him and shot him dead in broad daylight when he stepped onto the street after recording. The message was clear: it does not matter who you are. Their reach. We can get you so far is their reach that even Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte had to be placarded under heavy police protection. Following the murder of Peter R. de Vries, the Mafia has established such a strong foothold in the Netherlands as a result of its liberal use of heinous violence, bribery, and threats. While high levels of violence are usually associated with drug trafficking, the killings in the Netherlands are unique in Europe. That is in that they target journalists and lawyers. Gangs wielding such power over everyday life may be expected in South American countries, but the situation in a Western European country is concerning. And that is precisely why Dutch authorities are hell-bent on putting an end to criminal organizations. But how can they put an end to something that has grown to astronomical proportions right under their noses for decades? How they can be stopped. 80% of all drugs that flow into Europe are thought to grow into Rotterdam and Antwerp, where the Mafia controls a staggering 33% of cocaine smuggling. With such a high volume of narcotics flowing into the Benelux, the authorities have their work cut out for them if they want to put an end to this influx. But how far does the law enforcement go to bring them down? Consider how police investigations and operations are regarding and responding to this threat, which has been multifaceted. On one hand, teams of investigators have been working around the clock to piece together evidence. There would be no criminals in the world if solving crimes was as simple as apprehending offenders, locking them up, and throwing away the key. Unfortunately for the authorities, drug trafficking is a much more complicated issue that affects many aspects of daily life. Addressing the issue entails addressing poverty, corruption, gang violence, and a variety of other issues. The Mafia arose from a post-war benevolent agreement between two countries. To maintain its iron grip on Dutch and European trade, the organization employs threats, murder, and bribery. Thank you for joining us today on this captivating journey into the world of Mafia's domination of the Dutch drug market. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking content like this. Stay curious, stay informed, and until next time, take care.